Everyone, I'm really excited. I have a Michigander with me today, which is really fun. So we're sharing a really beautiful start of a spring day in Michigan, which is nice. I have Bill Hobson with me, and he is the executive producer of Hobson Media. So it's always fun to talk to someone in the media world. At least you and I will find it interesting. I hope others do.
Me
we
too.
can we can talk shop. You first got your love and the bug of TV, and I love this at a young age. It reminded me of myself as well, and I think that's really true of people who sort of are in the media. They see something or visit a TV studio or something touches them, and it just gets in them. And I had a similar kind of experience. But you were in your dad's um, car commercials. And I love that you say they were just terrible.
Oh my goodness. Oh, terrible. It would be an upgrade. They
Well,
were so bad
I want
because
to know about that because I think, were they terrible or were they terrible for the time?
no, they're terrible for all the time.
I love that.
For the time in which these were good commercials, but my dad knew that I had some sort of interest in being on that side of the camera. And I don't think he necessarily thought they were terrible because his son and my sister, his daughter, were both in them. But if those tapes ever surface again, I may be out of business overnight. So
That's
we're
so
hoping they remain a distant memory, but it was that experience that really got me hooked. And it's probably the reason that I'm not an auto dealer today, because it really is, because I had the opportunity to take over his dealerships and I really didn't want to do that. I really wanted to be in the creative realm. Telling stories is kind of the
yeah.
overarching mantra of what I do. And I enjoy that creative side of life.
Well, I love that about you because you have a similar sort of motto that I do. And as a publicist, and I started out in TV production, and I just had that same drive to tell people stories. And I love people. And that's why I was really excited to talk to you because I think that there are people who should be CPAs and doctors, and then there's people who should tell stories. And it's usually people who sort of see the lens and they see people. And even this morning, I was watching the Today Show and they were talking about teachers. And my husband's like, "You're crying again." And I'm like, "They're telling a really good story." And, so when you see a producer tell a good story, you really, you appreciate a good story. But you have been doing this a long time. You have the Big Impact, Marriage Talk, for Golfers Network, the Church Pew Sports, Michigan Golf Live. You have a huge array of things that you do under your media network. So where should we start? What?
It's such a unique context in which I live and operate. So sometimes when I'm asked, what do you do for a living? It takes a while to explain, okay? Because one half of my world is in media and is in storytelling. We have a television show about great golf destinations. We do all these podcasts. I have a syndicated radio show and all that. And yet, when I start to explain what it is I do, that is about half of the story, because the side of my life that's away from microphones and lights and cameras is I serve as a consultant for a number of faith-based ministries around the country to help them tell their stories. Because really, whether you're selling cars or hoping for a donation from a supporter, there's one key target that has to be achieved. You've got to touch the heart.
Yeah.
You've got to touch the heart with an effective enough message that it brings action from the viewer, from the listener, from the audience member. So that action may be I want you to join my gym, or that action might be, we really need you to volunteer at the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Both of those reactions are brought about because something appealed to you. And that's really what I try to do across all of the platforms, whether I'm trying to encourage you to go visit Grand Hotel, or whether I'm trying to encourage you to go work at the rescue mission in Flint. both of them require a decision on the part of the audience member. And that's why we kind of use the motto, we tell your story.
Mhm.
And sorry, I'm going to tell you, there's no greater thrill for me.
I want you to say your motto again. My motto is, what's your story?
Yeah, ours is we
And
tell your story.
and I love that, because I agree with you. And I say to my clients often, I don't care if you're selling insurance. I don't care if you're a doctor or a nonprofit. You have a story to tell. It's your story. And that's why I say, what's your story? And um, I so agree with you, because if you don't tell your story, and you know, I mean, it's your story. It's the authentic you. And that's what does touch people's heart. It's why people shop in your store. It's why people give to you. It's why people play golf on your your golf range. It really, it's who you are. And chances are that's what your dad didn't do in his car commercial.
No, they were very good. Now, at 53, if this version of me could go back and rewrite and redo those commercials, they would be very different. But of
Right.
course, back in the early 80s, everything was about the biggest sale ever. And it was
Sure.
basically the consumer message then was, you need to come buy from us because we're here.
Mm.
Well, that no longer works as a motivating factor. And really what drove home that entire ethos for me, I used to work as the director of development at the rescue mission in Flint. It's called Carriage Town Ministries. I left TV to go work there on purpose. I just got tired of corporate television and I left there. My friends thought I was nuts. Well, one of the first things that happened while I was at the rescue mission was I had lunch at a table of guys who were in the long-term recovery program from addiction issues. And I just started talking to them because I didn't know what I was getting into. And as I went around this table, I met, a former NFL trainer, a GM engineer, a school teacher, people who had made some bad decisions, but were still real and normal and actual people with stories to tell.
Yeah.
And over all these years now, I don't know how many since I started working in the nonprofit sector as well, I have never come away from an interview with someone and not had a story to tell, because everybody's path to homelessness or addiction or just needing help, everybody's path is a little different. Sure. And there's powerful stories out there, and that I really enjoy telling those.
So how has this year, I think it's important to ask in what you're doing, because it is so important and powerful, how has the year really impacted you? Because it's important that you tell the stories, get them out there to make an impact. Yet this year has been hard to do that.
Yeah, the podcast and the radio show that I do called The Big Impact is all designed to inject positive and inspiring and encouraging conversations into a culture. And there's never been a better time for that, because people, if you don't come to this pandemic era with the right perspective, it can crush you. And when I say right perspective, I'm not trying to sound like the guy on the top of the mountain that people come and seek advice from, but I would like to encourage everybody to remember those times when you have said to yourself, this is a couple of years ago, man, if I just had time, I would read more books. I would get in shape. I would turn off the TV and I would do things more productively. And I've said throughout the pandemic, when we get to the end of it, and theoretically we will at some point, when we get to the end of it, I would hate to have people look back and say, I had that time and I wasted it.
Yes.
I did not binge watch. I caught up. I'm so bored with Netflix. There's nothing left to watch. That's not the kind of investment of your time or your mental energy that's going to benefit you down the road. So through the Big Impact, we've really seen a spike in our audience, people who are enjoying long form conversations, being able to hear the entire story. I tell my guests before we do every interview, just so you know, this is not soundbite radio. We have 45 minutes. I want you to tell your story. I don't want you to speak in 3-word phrases. And thankfully, our audience has really been embracing that. And I think that's because, sorry, that during this last year and whatever weeks, months we have left, I think people are trying to find what matters and hold on to it.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. And
yeah,
how do you look for your guests? Because I think that's important, because I love that um, there are stories to tell, and people need to hear the stories to also make the changes. I think this has also been a year where people are reflecting on what needs to change.
yeah,
It wasn't just a year of pandemic. It was a year of introspect, of things can't stay the way, we had a big election. Things can't stay the way they've been.
yeah. For me, the protocol or the filter through which I run potential guests is, will this benefit somebody in my audience? Because we welcome guests from such a broad spectrum. We have Hall of Fame athletes, Grammy Award winners, Purple Heart recipients, but we also have a lot of people you've never heard of who just have really powerful stories to share. We had a double organ transplant recipient on who grew up in a small rural town in Michigan and had to go out to Beverly Hills to have his surgery because Cedars-Sinai is the place who does that kind of thing. And the story of the miracle that happened as he died 6 times along the journey, and all these things they're just powerful. There's a young man in Clio, Michigan, Clio, my old alma mater high school, who, when he was in high school, was paralyzed at jumping into a river head first. And Zach has never had use of any part of his body below his neck since then. And he's going on to get his PhD. He's teaching. He served on a school board. He is an inspiration. And I'm finding something unique, that quite often the largest audience feedback we get come from those everyday people. Because everyday people are listening to the show and wondering, can I make a difference? Does anybody care about my story? Do I matter? And when they hear a similar example, it's a big deal. It really does make a difference. And so I really get a thrill out of telling stories.
I like to hear that, because I think that it is a good reminder that you don't need to be the star athlete on the NFL football team. I think it's a good reminder that that star athlete has mental health issues, or probably had things along the way to showcase that part of it. But it is the everyday person who has struggles, that's a powerful message to other people. I think it's so, where can people find the big impact? Because I think as people are listening now, I want people to know how to engage and hear what you're doing.
Well, first, you can find the podcast everywhere: Apple, Google, Spotify, all those places. But
we love saying that, wherever you find your podcast, that's probably the easiest, but it's called The Big Impact. And I think I like to tell people right now, the weather's getting nicer. It's great to listen to music, but the engagement I found recently, I was listening to a podcast while I was walking. And most people know I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and I listened to The Renegade with Bruce and Barack. It was 55 minutes. I was done walking. I mean, it was so, get outside, walk, listen to a podcast. Music is great, but when you're listening to something like The Big Impact, your walk time, you'll be done, and you'll be so uplifted.
It's very true. And just for everybody who's interested, all of our episodes are available for free at bigimpactradio.com. And we're finding more and more people searching through the archives for a topic that appeals to whether it's a singer or, like I said earlier, a military hero. Boy, there's a lot of good stories out there. And we have videos of those stories on the website as well, for those of you who are more visually oriented.
Yeah. And I think people are both, I mean, I found it was interesting. I started a podcast during the pandemic. And I always laugh because at first I wasn't visually doing them with the video. I'm such a visual person that I felt it was easier to do it that way. I enjoy the Facebook Live immediacy and getting people, again, getting the story out there more and sharing what you're doing. And I love sharing your story to share what you're doing with other people's stories. What is there one project that you wish or hope to do coming up as we sort of venture out? I know we're both in Michigan, and maybe those doors are opening a little bit more to us. We hope. It seems like summer's coming. We might have our more vaccines and more space to get out there, I hope. But is there a project that you hope to do?
Well, yeah, for the TV show that I produce and I host called Michigan Golf Live, it's in about 7.5 million homes on Valley Sports, Detroit, and in other states. And so we are about to start, as soon as the weather cooperates in the next couple of weeks, we hit the road for a good portion of the summer to produce new 30-minute shows. So from a big project standpoint, that's really one that's always on top of mind, because that takes a lot of time. But there is a unique project / program that I've launched that is really directed towards churches and towards faith-based ministries. And it's a video series called The Giving Series. And it's all about how you connect with your supporters, whether it's your church members or your donors. And from a project standpoint, I'm really hoping that people of faith will take interest in that. The videos are 6 minutes, 7 minutes long. They're not anything elaborate, but they cover different areas and aspects of how churches and how ministries communicate. They communicate their needs, they communicate their thankfulness. I'm amazed at how many charities in general are terrible at saying thank you.
Yeah.
And what a big difference it makes to the donor to be properly thanked. So that's one of the projects that I really have on my plate. But I think, as you can kind of gather, I've got a lot of items on the checklist on a frequent basis. And so along with all of that, I still have a family and I like to spend time with them. So I always tell my friends, my summertime basically happens in November and December, and the rest of the year it's pretty hectic as we crank out a lot of content, tell a lot of stories.
I love that. I'm so glad that you spent time with me today, and I'm glad to meet you since we're in Michigan, and I hope that we can collaborate. You've given me some ideas to do that, so that's my selfishness of the day, and I love that. You are at Hobson, I'm going to spell it hobsonmedia.com, HOBSON media.com. It's on this story that I'm sharing today. I want everyone to really reach out and take a look. Behind Bill right now are all his logos, and we've got a lot of golfers out there, I'm sure, who have already seen Michigan golf. But for me, I really think you got to check out The Big Impact. I think that, and the faith-based, I think that, that's really so important. For my golf friends, I know you feel that way, but I know that golf's of top of mind right now, especially in Michigan. We have amazing places to play golf, and everybody absolutely wants to get out there and play. So
we sure do. One quick note before I go, of all of the podcasts that I do, interestingly, the most listened to with downloads by a long shot is called Marriage Talk. And it is the one where a professional licensed counselor addresses issues and takes questions from our audience. I just facilitate. I'm not the expert. Yeah. I'm not playing one on TV, but that's a podcast that is downloaded thousands of times every episode. And so if there's anything in your marriage relationship that could use some fine tuning, that's proven to be a pretty popular place to turn. So just a little plug for that one. And while
I like that. Well, I think that Bill and Melinda should tune in.
Man. You know who wins in that one? The lawyers.
Always. You know what? I'm married to a lawyer, and he'll even admit the only one who always wins are the lawyers. So 100%. Well, I love that. Really, I think what's amazing, and that's why you need to go to hobsonmedia.com, because you really, it's an amazing find to me. Shame on me for not knowing and having met you earlier. But you really, with the amount of programming and content, you really are covering so many stories, and I love it. So I'm really blessed today to be able to share your story and meet you, because you're really covering so many people
Well,
and what they're doing.
the invitation. It's been great. I hope we can do it again, maybe in person.
Yes. You know what? I would love it in person, but definitely come back this summer. You know, maybe we'll pick apart one particular show. Maybe we'll talk just golf. I
Yeah.
have another hat I wear. I run a foundation, the Michigan Jewish Sports Foundation. We have a huge golf outing, the Hank Greenberg golf outing coming in August. We had to postpone or cancel actually. Last year we postponed, and then finally had to cancel. We're going ahead with it in August this year. And, you know,
You need an MC for your banquet or your auction, you know who to
well,
call.
I will. We're really excited. We have Goose Gossage
Oh,
from we bring in a baseball former or current Hall of Famer, and Armin Katanan, sports writer. But we're just, it's really fun. Everybody wants to come play golf, and I happen to not be married. I am not a golf widow, I say. My husband does not play golf. But I know, my friends, they are just ready. I mean, this past weekend was gorgeous. Everybody was out there.
yeah.
Us Michiganders like our golf. So
Well, those of you who are tuning into this part and have a golf bug, if you go to michigangolflive.com, you'll see our world there, and our YouTube channel has all of our TV shows on there and a whole lot of other content. And we've been doing that show for 22 years, so we've been pretty active in the golf world. That's to say the least.
Well, it's funny. I have two boys and a daughter, and my youngest, all of a sudden, he's in law school, second year, and almost every weekend he's been going out and hitting golf balls with his friends. And I said, "What is that? You go to law school and you're going to take up golf now?" So I kind of laughed, but he seems to really be enjoying it. So
It's safe, it's socially distant, and last year more people started playing the game than in any year in the last 20. So there's something that you couldn't get a tee time last year.
yeah,
And by the way, one more plug for my favorite old man sport. I think golf reveals character more than any other sport. It's a unique setting. You're out there for a long time. You get to see somebody's temper. You get to see their integrity.
yes.
You get to see their concentration. If I were doing a job interview with somebody, I'd probably take them out to a golf course and see what that five.
That's funny. It's funny that you say that, only because being someone who runs a golf outing,
Yeah.
and I made it very clear when I, had the job interview. This was, a big thing. It's a huge fundraiser. I'm like, you realize I know nothing about golf. I was really clear. I mean,
You
you
don't
can't
have to.
fake it.
Right.
And I laughed because both my parents play golf, and I called them. I'm like, I have to run this golf outing. And my dad laughed, and he was like, "You don't know anything about golf." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but I know how to run events, and I know how to raise money, and I'll figure out everything else out." But I have driven around the course, and even at an outing, you're 100% right. You see a lot of you see some laughter because it's an outing, but you certainly see intensity and character and the competition, and that's at an outing. So I can only imagine on a
Yeah.
on a normal just foursome. But yeah, I'm not totally unhappy that I don't lose my husband every weekend to golf.
Every June and every September, we do a viewer weekend at Grand Hotel. We have 75 rooms of guests that come in from all over the place. And we have, as part of their time, just a very low-key outing where at the reception the night before, I make them all pay careful attention. I say, I want you to hear me now. Because they play as husbands, they play as spouses. I mean, you talk about putting pressure
I think
on.
you probably need marriage talk there.
Yes. Well, yeah, once. I say to them, this outing is not worth losing sleep, yelling other or cheating over. The prizes are
Right.
tough. You're going to be fine. Just have
Right.
fun. And boy, you can see a lot of the lesser golfing spouse breathe a sigh of relief, and you can see them kind of looking sideways at their other spouse, like, "Did you hear what the guy said?"
Yeah.
So yeah, you can learn a lot about somebody on the golf course.
I try and remind people at our outing, you remember, you're just getting like an umbrella or like a picture frame. Although one year we had 2 hole-in-ones, which was like,
Nice. Give away a couple.
there was a car and a watch, a Rolex, so it was kind of fun. I mean, most people hadn't seen that before, so that was kind of fun. But
Hey, after you pay for the insurance policy, you might as well hope somebody wins, because you're paying.
you know what? I was so blessed that one of my first calls this year was from the sponsor of the car, who said, "We'll be back." And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you. Anyway, well, I so enjoyed this time. We will talk soon. I may have an idea or two for the big impact for you. I have some special.
Thanks for the invitation. It's been great to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Have an amazing day.
You too.
Talk to you soon.